All right, just started recording, so let's start if everyone's ready.
Yes, I would say so. So thank you everybody for joining today's community update. This is one of the month of August. I'm happy to see you all here, and as always, we'll be recording the community update for everybody who can't join live today. So as always, first of all, our little community shout out for the people with the most activity on social media channels. And this week, the shout out goes to Master Money and Metus Harma 813, I hope I pronounced correctly, for their nice activity on Twitter and other socials. So thank you all. It definitely helps us a lot if you guys spread the word around Onino, and we can naturally grow our community. And then without further ado, I would jump in the first point of the agenda. As always, what is Onino this week or this month, so to say, by Lukas.
Yes, the more frequent listeners may already know this section. This is mostly targeted towards all the new people that are frequently joining. And I just want to give you a short rundown on what Onino is and what we are doing here at Onino. So we, the three founders, Kai, Alex, and myself, we've been in the space for quite some long time. And then in 2021, the journey of Onino actually started. It started when we took a more in-depth look at the space, because we've always seen that blockchain technology has so much potential, especially for application beyond DeFi, in, as we call it, in the real world. But we have seen that there's a lack of networks that have the necessary attributes for companies that are already operating outside of the Web3 space to deploy applications or deploy some part of the business logic onto those ledgers. And that's why we started Onino. And what Onino does, you can see it here in the presentation. It's currently simply put two things. It's on the one hand building the Oni graph. This is our own network. It is a layer 0 infrastructure based on DAG technology that will enable developers all around the world to host their own native application layers, and you can say their own layer ones on top of our consensus engine, and then basically adjusting their base software development kit infrastructure we provide for these application layers to fit to their needs and tailor them specifically for the business logic or the application they want to build. And the other thing that we're doing right now is tokenization in general, and also tokenized fundraising, which you can say is our onboarding mechanism to the Oni graph, because every business out there needs customers, needs partners to flourish and to basically build a sustainable stream of income. And we thought it would be best to already start this service and onboard partners early, even before the network is even launched, which is why we're currently offering a service of tokenizing business models and going into companies and helping them raise funds through tokenization, which then all be onboarded onto the Oni graph once we are ready for the release of the Oni graph. And that together is, on the one hand, the development part and the business development part, which in our plan will result in a flourishing ecosystem built directly on the Onino network. And with that, we can go on to the next section, which is again my time to speak. I will give you a short rundown on the blockchain update in general, the update on our network, what's happening behind the scenes, and most specifically, we want to share publicly the whole development roadmap divided into 7 phases, which will give you much more insight what's going on behind the scenes, what we've achieved already, which is quite a lot, and what we are going to set out to achieve. So you can see here is a short timeline, and currently we are in phase 3 of our development efforts. We are actually ahead of the schedule we originally planned, and you can see on the bottom already, that's actually the first time we are officially announcing this in the community updates, which is that the application layer testnet, which is the first instance of our whole OniGraph network, like you could say these are The individual layer ones that can be built by developers on top of our consensus engine will be going into testnet in the last quarter of 2023. So this is only a couple of months away, and exciting times are ahead. The team is working effortlessly to make this ready and adjust the last few efficiency changes in the code base and the node client, and you can look forward to more information on that. And then with all the data we've gathered in the testnet, we will be transitioning to the mainnet in the first half of 2024. We do not want to give an exact date because the testnet phase is there to really gather a lot of data, see how are things performing, especially on a global set of nodes, and see what we can change before going live into mainnet, to put a network in a production environment that is suited for what we want our set out to achieve. And then you can see already on the timeline, phase 4, 5, 6, and 7 will be following, and we will now be going more into detail on all of the phases that you see here for the whole development. So I will quickly cover phase 1 to 3 because these are the phases that we have already achieved, or what we are currently, you could say, in a transitioning phase from phase 3 to 4. So we started out by just building the concepts for our native consensus algorithm. So the proof of adaptive coverage, that was a whole lot of theory work, a whole lot of calculations in the background, but we've built our proof of concept in phase 1, which then enabled us to transition to the next phase, which was basically intensive testing of the initial application layer and then also benchmarks for our proof of adaptive coverage consensus engine. And currently we are in phase 3, which is mainly the deployment of our EVM compatible testnet and the pre-registration for validators, and then it will be followed by the release of our node client, which then benchmarks the start of the testnet, and then the release of our Explorer. After that, which will be in 2024, is phase 4, which sees the full release of the mainnet. Also, we are working already on the integration of our WASM virtual machine, which is the WebAssembly virtual machine, essentially allowing developers to use more than the common smart contract languages and enable them to be more freely in how they develop and with which language they develop smart contracts. And that will also see the phase 4 will also see various dev toolkit releases, so tools for developers to make their life on the OniGraph and developing OniGraph much easier. And then also the migration of all the partners. I've mentioned the tokenization and tokenized fundraising earlier already, and this is when all of the work that we are doing proactively right now will pay off, as we can migrate all of them onto our mainnet. And now let's get into the more phases which are in the future, so which will start with the release of the mainnet in 2024, and afterwards, which will be mainly something to look forward to is phase 5, which sees the release of our layer 0 implementation and application layer SDKs. This simply means that from that point on, developers will be able to build their own application layers on top of our consensus engine. We are also aiming to get certification, especially compliance certification for critical infrastructure, which is something that if we can achieve this, will much more differentiate us in terms of blockchain for utility-based applications, as there's such a wide range of applications that can then be built on our infrastructure. Additional dev toolkit releases, this is more tailored towards the application layer software development kit. We will be planning to release a facilitated configuration CLI, and then also the implementation of the Rust node client, which will itself bring a much higher performance to each individual application layer that is choosing to run on a Rust-based node network, essentially. After phase 5, I see there's phase 4 written, but it actually is phase 5. We will transition to phase 6, which will then bring the whole vision of the OniGraph as we envision it to fulfillment, as we will be releasing the Nebula Developer Software Development Kit and the Pulse Identity Software Development Kit, which essentially Nebula stands for that's our code name right now in development for our privacy enhancing tools and features targeted towards developers. And the Pulse Identity Development Kit, you can already see it, or I believe you can already think about what that means, is our full identity state layer kit, which can also be used by developers to build applications with fully fledged decentralized identities, and essentially every actor or every key pair, every wallet as you know it today, can then be linked to an identity if one chooses so. And once these are released, we will transition into phase 7, which is mainly one thing which is more a business related release, which will be the consensus as a service infrastructure for our base consensus infrastructure, and then a few additional interoperability updates, as we are still 100% going with the world is multi-chain movement, and we believe that we still have to find even more secure ways to be interoperable with other networks other than bridges. And then various node client efficiency improvements and language diversity improvements to further decentralize the network on the terms of more languages that support our node client, and efficiency improvements are mostly tailored towards specific virtual machine changes, and also changes in terms of how the databases are structured for our node clients and how they run. I hope I was not too fast with all these phases. We will be publishing these phases on our website in the coming days, so you can look into these again. But I hope this gives you a good insight into what we're planning and on the great things that are set out for Onino to happen in the future. And I hope you all are as excited as the team for the end of the year when we finally get to release our testnet.
Thank you very much for the update on the blockchain roadmap, Lukas. It was quite interesting insights. And yeah, as Lukas said, we will also publish these phases soon on our website, so you can have a look at them. Also, yeah, in the calm and read through them, and can maybe Google some words that are missing, maybe, and have a look at them after the community update as well. Okay, then we'll just continue with the next agenda point. So yeah, Lukas has presented the blockchain roadmap and also what we have been doing behind the scenes. But we also have another exciting update from the Onino dashboard. So the Onino blockchain is not the only thing that we have been working on, and we have also relentlessly been working on the Onino dashboard. It was quite rough actually, because most of the time for us, as you can imagine, goes into the blockchain development part. But yeah, after work, in the evenings and the weekends, we also put a lot of work in the Onino dashboard to provide you with a lot better experience than before. So this is why we'll finally announce that tonight, after the community update, we will release the next update of the Onino dashboard. And in this call, I would like to just quickly go into the several things that have been changed or will be upgraded in our update. So first of all, we have basically completely rewritten the entire core logic behind the dashboard. It has been entirely optimized from ground up. We have taken all of the experiences, have analyzed usage data from the entire month that the dashboard has been running now, and have then put all this knowledge together to basically build an entirely new core logic system for the dashboard. Balances across wallets now synchronize a lot faster and especially a lot more stable and more precise than ever before. I wouldn't dive too much into the technical details. We'll do a blog post soon for everyone interested. But yeah, so to say, before we have had another method of calculating the token balances, which is now optimized. So there should not be any problems with spam tokens, for example, which are often flooded into your wallets without you wanting it to. So as I said, you won't notice much in the UI from that. It's just under the hood, the entirely core algorithms of the dashboard, but they will definitely guarantee that from now on, all of your wallet balances are synchronized accurately and there are no wrong numbers displayed. What we also have now, a new feature, little one, is a token ignore list. Because yeah, even if we have now optimized our core logic and it's almost not possible anymore for any unwanted spam tokens to get into your dashboard, It can still, for example, be that you say, hey, okay, this is one token I received a long time ago. I don't want to have it in my dashboard, don't want to analyze it there. So I would like to remove it from the dashboard, which is why we now implemented this feature. In your token table on the right in the dashboard, you can now just click the little icon and then easily add one token to your ignore list. And if you later on, for example, decide, hey, okay, I don't want to ignore this token anymore, I want to have it in my dashboard again, you can just quickly head over to your user settings and remove it from your token ignore list, and then all the balances of that token will also be integrated in the dashboard again. And another exciting feature that we have heard a lot of requests for in the community during the last month, and we have listened, of course, to our community because we think there was great input. A lot of you guys basically brought up the argument that it would be great if you could also just add a wallet without having to connect it to the dashboard app and without having to sign a message. And this could be for all possible reasons you could think for example, be it some kind of exotic wallet or some kind of offline hardware wallet which can't be connected to the dashboard. So yeah, we definitely listened to that feature request and have now added the feature that it's also possible to add wallets without connecting them and without sending a message, and you can just basically paste in the wallet address as you can see here in the video, and then also connect all your wallets that way. So yeah, I think a lot of exciting updates. The update will be released later on tonight. We'll also inform you in Telegram and in our blog as soon as the update is released. And we'll also be happy to get any feedback on the new dashboard update that you may have for us. We hope you will like it. We've put in a lot of work. And yeah, if you find anything that is not working as it should right in the beginning, it's also a lot of times the case after a new release, just let us know in the community or via the feedback form directly in the dashboard. So yeah, looking forward to release. Hope you will like it too. So with that being said, without further ado, I would say we hand over to the next exciting updates we have. Some big news for which I would hand over to Alex.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kai. So, I mean, the slide is taken away. We have our first pre-seed sale. Cadaico, our customer, which we help with tokenized fundraising, has started its pre-seed sale, which is a really great achievement because a lot of work goes into that, writing a white paper, creating the website, and it's not just creating those forms, but it's filling them with content, bringing the vision to a point where it's really ready to be released and to be communicated to the public, working on partnerships in the background and many, many more things. And it's really amazing to now have this first customer reach the pre-seed sale. So feel free to visit the link. I think it's a fairly easy one, cadai.co/presale. There is a list you can enlist yourself, and if you want to take part in this pre-seed sale, please feel free to go there. It's not exclusive to the Onino community, but you're definitely the first ones to hear from it. So let me say that. And I think it will be for most of the sales. There's no guarantee I can give you, but we're just going to see how it's going to work. Sales are going to be different. Projects are going to be different. Customers are going to be different. But in this case, Cadaico wanted to address you specifically, and this is what they're doing. So that's for the first slide, and I think Kai, you can jump to the next slide. Exactly. I just wanted to bring back into your minds what Cadaico is, and specifically the Cadaico platform and its future potential, and how Cadaico itself uses the Onino network. So Cadaico, just as a reminder, is a platform that uses AI intelligence and combines it or brings it into CAD, computer-aided designing, and helps people that are engineers and designers to take away the part that is repetitive and that is, I could say, stupid as well, or just takes unnecessary time, and lets them focus on the creative part, because the AI helps you with repetitive steps and you don't have to do that anymore. The AI will help you to and work alongside the people. And with this business logic, the Cadaico company will create a plugin which will plug into existing CAD programs. And using this business logic, it will create a platform so that other customers, developers, people, anyone essentially can use this technology and build their applications on it. So see it like the App Store. The Cadaico is a company having a business logic, and everyone will be able to use that technology and develop applications from it. And the cool thing is that additionally to just Onino helping them do fundraising, which is much more interesting to us, is that Cadaico is going to be using the Onino network. As we have a layer 0 network, you can build layer 1s on it. And Cadaico will be a layer 1 blockchain project as well, because with all the AI and CAD, there is a lot of data. And everywhere where there's data nowadays, there's also the question, is this data valid? And Cadaico is going to help through the blockchain technology, through the power of blockchain technology, to securely store and validate that the data you're working with is indeed secure and correct and legitimate. And so this layer 1 blockchain technology is going to be using the Onino networks technology. And this is very amazing, because really happy to work so early stage with Cadaico and having them use our technology once it's ready. And that's for this slide. So here's just a little screenshot of the Cadaico website to give you a visual assistance. It's cadai.co, fairly easy website, so feel free to visit if you have any questions, and give us and give them feedback, because also their Telegram is opened, which I think may be on the next slide. Exactly. If anyone, Kai or Lukas, maybe you can post it in the Telegram, in our Telegram, so you can join their Telegram. And Pedram is the founder, and he will be happy to take all your questions. And I think on the next slide, we'll have a little announcement regarding that. Exactly, because Cadaico is going to join an AMA in the Onino Telegram community. And Pedram is going to, next week, exactly that time, same time next week, he's going to join the group and tell you in all its glory what Cadaico is from the founder itself. And he's going to answer all your questions. So if you have any, feel free to prepare them, shoot them at him in his Telegram, and feel free to join live and listen to what Cadaico is doing. Really happy and looking forward to that. And I think with this, the Cadaico segment may be over. Is it?
Yes, correctly.
Exactly. Yeah, next up is a little catch up about the events. You seem to like that, so we try to take pictures whenever we work with like-minded people, when we have projects together. So this is a little one where we worked with a partner and took a little picture, hope you like it, to show you that we're working, not just sitting on the couch and watching movies. I'm just kidding. I think you know that we work a lot. But it's also always nice to tell you a little bit what we're doing. This is a new project that I cannot talk about anything at the moment, but it may turn out to be a very interesting one. And with that,
Definitely.
I think we have arrived. Exactly. Little reminder, the newsletter, feel free to sign up, newsletter.onino.io. Every month there's going to be a newsletter. Of course, you will be first to hear the information in the community update, but the second time you can hear the information and maybe some more information, and also put in maybe a more concise picture than this long video format. Is a newsletter, so feel free to sign up there. And also for your parents, maybe if they're not in the medium of using Telegram or anyone else, the newsletter is something that's fairly easy to use, so feel free to subscribe.
Yes, we promise there won't be any spam, just a nice, interesting monthly update. So don't be afraid that your inbox will be flooded by us. All right. I think then we have, there's one other point we wanted to address. We are hiring, or are looking to hiring, and what we're looking for is basically a blockchain architect, as well as a blockchain protocol developer or other blockchain-related software engineers, as well as a sales and marketing talent. And the last point, we're definitely looking for kind of an all-rounder who could support us with social media, community building, sales, marketing, all that stuff around. So we basically need a sales and marketing all-rounder. So if you have any recommendations for us, who could be a fit for that? If you have any connections, know anybody that could fit on these descriptions, just let us know, hit us up with a DM or send us an email to team@onino.io, or also please share that we are hiring right now and are searching for these positions. Okay, then I would say it's question time, as always. We have received a lot of questions from you guys throughout the last month, so thank you already now for the interesting questions. We really love to see all the questions you have. That kind of shows to us that you are thinking along, are really like actively thinking with Onino, make your minds up around Onino. And yeah, this just makes us really happy to see you so active in the question form every month. All right, so I would say let's just start in with the first category, which is tokenized fundraising by Onino. Alex, I would just pass that over to you.
I'll take that over. So first question is, will the projects Onino helps get listed on CE Access after the sale? And do we have or are able to get connections to do so, as it would significantly impact the partnership and success of the sales and also kickstart for the project? So, and yeah, regarding that, this will always depend on the project. Eventually, most coins get listed on CE Access, so that just makes sense. But we're just advising the projects, helping them to see how it could go, what they could do, and helping them do that if they take the decision. But this is always going to be up to the project, so there is no general answer we can give here. There's also ways to launch directly on CE Access, which we have informed our partners about, but we'll just see what they choose. So it will be different from project to project. Next question is, how do you plan to market the pre-sale for the project you're taking on board when Onino has no marketing for itself? So that is something that is a fairly easy answer. The project essentially will make their marketing depending on the current state. This could be either private sale or pre-seed sale or something like that, or if the company already has the money, they can spend it right away, but they will definitely do marketing. And as there is like a part of this question is also that Onino doesn't have marketing, just makes sense because we, on one hand, have had our sales already, and on the other hand, don't have a finished product yet. So marketing wouldn't really make sense. So we will start marketing once the product is ready, but we are not doing active, big marketing efforts at the moment, although you see some small things here and there. So I wouldn't say that we don't do any marketing. Next question is, how will Cadaico market their pre-sale? Will you be involved? Will it fall onto you if the pre-sale is deemed a failure? I've seen many projects that look great on the surface and fail due to lack of marketing. So how is the word getting out about Cadaico? There are 3 niches at least. It falls into crypto, AI, and CAD, so plenty of opportunity to capture audiences from each. So that's also connected to the questions before. On one hand, we will help Cadaico with our community, which is, let's say, not the biggest force, but I think will also prove to be an enabling force and maybe driving force for Cadaico. But there will be a lot more marketing than just Onino or what Onino does. Next week, for example, Onino's community update, but you will see many more like you have seen if you've been there from the start of Onino. We have worked with many other communities. We have worked with many mediums, be it blog articles, videos, all those things, working with influencers potentially. There will be a lot of trial and error, hopefully more trial, less error. But essentially, the projects are going to do their own marketing and their own bringing up the project and bringing up the know-how and the awareness. And we're just there to help them, to advise them. And every project is going to do it a little like they choose to do. I hope that answered those questions.
Thank you very much, Alex. And then the next category we have our marketing and team, which also lies at you, I think.
Yeah, perfect. So first one is, will you create some graphics that the community can push, comparison to other blockchains, TPS, etc.? So easy answer to this one as well. At the moment, we don't have an in-house designer, but we would be happy if you created some. So if you are a designer and want to create some, feel free to do so. Or if you know a great designer that we should work with, because it's always fairly hard in this scene. You have people that ask horrendous sums of money for very not too good work. So it's not easy to find good ones. Long story short, we don't have designers, so there is no graphics from us at the moment, but this will definitely change in the future. Like I said, we don't do big active marketing measures at the moment. So either you know someone that could help us at the moment, or you wait until the network is there and we have a product to market, and then we will definitely have such comparisons and many more. And I think the next segment is for Lukas.
Yes, 2 questions towards the team and who is working around Onino, and a few towards the token allocation. So I'll start with the first one, which is, how many people is your team or are working on your team, and when will be the project released? The second part of the question, we've covered that already in the roadmap update earlier. And how many people are working on Onino? Currently, we have a total of 9 people working for and with Onino. But as we mentioned before already, we are now actually ramping up our hiring efforts, and we are in search for good protocol developers, especially in Go, Lang, and Rust, if that helps any one of you to spread the word about that. Blockchain architects and a social media and sales marketing multi-talent that would be able to join our team. So the team is set out to grow in the next few months. And then the second question is more or less targeted towards the team token allocation that is currently inside the tokenomics you can find on our website. The 25% team token is quite a lot and could hinder the potential of the Oni token. Can you explain who this 25% is shared between, and will it be used for future team members too? What is the most individual team member is allocated towards? So the question actually answers parts of itself already. A lot of that allocation is targeted towards future team members, because as right now, out of that total allocation, which is targeted towards in-team members, external development capacities, partners, and just the founding team in general. A lot of this allocation, which is kind of reserved for that purpose, is yet to be allocated for real. So if you take the 25%, I would say at least half of it is still yet to be allocated, and it's still yet to be seen if we will just basically put that allocation towards another pool, which would be an ecosystem incentive pool when the mainnet is released. And then the last part of the question, what is the most individual team member is allocated? We've looked quite concisely at not giving one individual too much economical power over how things develop with the token price. So you will not see members joining the team or in the team controlling more than, you can say 1% of the total supply. And also we will be releasing our adjusted vesting schedule on our website or in somewhere in the tokenomics part, but most of you know it already. The tokens are locked for quite a long time with a vesting schedule that does not allow anyone to access anything before we have achieved our milestones, such as the release of our mainnet, and from there on they will be linearly vested over a few years. So we really try to mitigate any implications that team tokens can have on the development of the whole Onino ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Lukas. I think you can just continue with the development-related questions.
Yes. Okay, the first question is, given that you only have 3 developers actively working on the Oni graph right now, and the fact that you are ahead of schedule, which is great, but most tech has constant delays, how can you fill the community with confidence that what you are making is actually going to be great and a well-made piece of technology? So the first part is 2. So currently we have 3 full-time developers working on the Oni graph currently. But we had a few more developers in the past, and especially at the start of our journey, we've had much outside, or you could say external development capacity, especially when it came to building the POC, testing out our POC consensus, doing the benchmarks. That's where we have many more people and many more hands on the project itself. And we are currently especially hiring for increasing our capacities in the development team. So we can, of course, we can never guarantee anything, but we can be working with a better team and a bigger team towards actually bringing out, as you put it in the question, a well-made piece of technology. As you've seen, our roadmap is packed, the development roadmap is packed, and now it is the task of us to get the right people in the team to fulfill this roadmap. All right, I will just go on with the second question, which is, again, quite a large question. I would go ahead and read it. So you have mentioned previously that the Oni graph will likely have a total transactions per second of 100,000. There have been many blockchains that suggested this figure to begin with during the testing phase, but when you have tens of thousands of real transactions coming through at once, this usually is proven to be false. How are you stress testing that 100K will be the end figure. What will you do if it turns out to be significantly lower on par with, say, Bitcoin, for example, or will you rebuild or look towards layer 2 scaling solutions? So to give a little bit of context, like in a testing environment, it all depends on how you build that testing environment, how you build your, how many nodes you use for testing a proof of concept of your consensus engine, how these nodes are distributed, how they are in terms of pure operating power for the performance. And we've conducted several tests and several different configurations, like everything from only a few nodes to multiple nodes, all distributed around the globe. So basically we were able to simulate latency and then stress test it by forcing transactions into the node network. Of course, you have to say that with the release of our testnet and the mainnet, we will not be reaching the 100,000 transactions per second, because we are mostly figuring, or mostly you can say focusing on the security and the developer experience. And we will still have to reconfigure and refactor the node client into other languages, for example, Rust, to basically have much more efficiency. So the release of the application layer will be, you can say, you can expect numbers that are closer for 10,000 at the start for each individual application layer. And then with our efficiency improvements, which are in the roadmap already and planned out, so that we can build out the full capacity of the proof of adaptive coverage consensus mechanism, we can reach, or we are confident to reach the number proclaimed with the release of phase 5 and 6. So I hope that answers this question. And to the last part of the question, I don't see us being on the lower par with, say, Bitcoin, for example, as asked in the question. And we will not ourselves look into building any layer 2 scaling solutions, but every developer out there is welcome to build whatever they want to build on our network. Now we'll just go on with the next question, because it's a quite simple one to answer. It is, what is the current development status and when will the mainnet be released? So the current development status, as already mentioned earlier in the roadmap, is that we are currently prepping everything to release our node client for the testnet, release our testnet in general with the node client, and also release the Explorer for our testnet, and also are prepping the documentation and software development kit release, which will all be accompanied by the release of the testnet. And the mainnet, as mentioned earlier already, will be or is anticipated to launch in the first half of 2024. That is still due to what will be happening during the testnet stage, because depending on the data, we may be able to launch earlier, or we might have to still do some adjustments in terms of increasing security, increasing developer experience. But that is what a testnet phase is for.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lukas. I will just take over the last two questions. The first one here is, what are the unique applications that can be built on Onino? That is a perfect question for me. I love that question, as this just gives me a perfect opportunity to tell you a bit more about the potential use cases of Onino, and also take the technology that Lukas presented in the roadmap before and set that into practical examples. So yeah, as you know, the Onino graph is exactly built to enable a new generation of applications of blockchain technology that weren't possible before. So let's just have a look at some examples that highlight the tech stack, so to say, of the Onino graph. So one would definitely be supply chain tracking solution. Such supply chain tracking solutions that are built on a blockchain would definitely have a high degree of transparency and also trustworthiness, just intrinsically because they're being built on a blockchain and everybody can verify the records in the blockchain database, so to say. And so far, such solutions are quite impractical, as you don't want to store any private company data on a public ledger, obviously. But with our future privacy SDK that we call Nebula, this won't be a problem anymore at all, because it will basically allow every company to store their sensitive supply chain company data in an encrypted way, yet secured by the decentralized blockchain ledger, and therefore allows, so to say, the best of both worlds. Yeah, I think this is a prime example for cool applications of the OmniGraph for the future. Because if some of you might have known from your jobs or from relatives or friends working in industries, the producing industry is facing, especially in Europe, more and more regulations that basically obliges them to prove that everything around their entire supply chain is not tampered with, and that all the working conditions and all the product attributes are clear and trustworthy and as they should be. And it's actually quite hard for these companies to fulfill, so to say, these regulatory requirements, just because they don't have a really easy and clear way to demonstrate the authenticity of all the data that they provide regarding the supply chain to the authorities. Also, there's interesting studies from some of the largest consultant companies in that world, who basically directly recommend blockchain as a prime example technology to fulfill the requirements of these new supply chain regulatory laws. So I think that's definitely one very cool use case for applications that could be built on the OmniGraph. Another one, just staying in the industry context, could be, for example, an IoT device identification and also communication application. So as you know, we also have the OmniGraph's Pulse SDK for DIDs. These would just be a very convenient solution to create on-chain identities in the blink of an eye. And with that software development kits, it will be perfectly possible in the future to build, for example, IoT solutions where every device can easily and transparently be identified on the public blockchain. And also the high transaction speed that we'll achieve due to the OmniGraph's DAG, directed acyclic graph technology, can then, of course, enable blazingly fast machine-to-machine communication. So with all that, while still recording, every message that is transmitted between the different machines in this IoT network are recorded securely on the blockchain. Then another quite cool example that I think is very relevant for today's industries that could be built on the OmniGraph is a decentralized employee access management system. And that could, for example, easily said, enable companies to handle their entire access management. That means like their employee directory and all of the roles that each employee has and every software tool of the company via the blockchain. And interestingly, we have already talked with several real-world companies of the German industry that definitely see the need for that, as an employee management system built on a blockchain would be a lot more resistant and robust against hackers and cyber attacks. So just imagine, for example, your entire employee directory and all of the roles and accesses that the employees have are stored in one single database or one single cloud account, as it is mostly the case in today's companies. And you can imagine that gives hackers or attackers a fairly easy time, because they just have to get access to that one database or that one login, and then could basically smash your entire role system, right? They could assign themselves all of the super admin roles, mess around in your databases, in your employee access systems in every possible way. They could even kill your entire employee access management system. And you would then basically have no employee accounts anymore and would basically not be able to work anymore in your company. So, but contrary to that, when the whole thing is stored on a blockchain, you would basically have to hack every single computer in the blockchain network to mess around with the employee and role data. So you see, this could drastically increase the security for every company out there. And definitely also here to make back the bridge to our technology stack, our software toolkits Nebula and Pulse for decentralized identity and encrypted data storage could perfectly enable the development of exactly such a decentralized employee access management solution for every industry company out there on the OmniGraph. I hope this were some hopefully interesting insights on what could be built with our tech stack on the future OmniGraph. Then let's just move on to the next question. When it comes time to migrate to the OmniGraph, how will you be able to snapshot what everyone has in the farms currently? Even if you reduce the time on the farm to allow people to unlock, what about those that have forgotten that it's locked or that don't have the time to get to it? It's also a very good question. So for the first point, we will definitely create a snapshot of the existing farm state when migration is starting, so that everything is, so to say, backed in case something goes wrong on the migration, which we don't assume. Then on the other hand, there will definitely be a very long and generous time span that gives people definitely enough time to migrate their tokens from Binance Smart Chain to the native OmniGraph network. We're calculating with something about 1 to 3 months, and are trying to reach the people that have put their Oni tokens in our staking pools in every possible way. And regarding how we are going to do it, we're definitely planning to make the migration as easy as possible for you, the users. So for example, we are thinking of making it such that you just have to click I would say, migrate me now button and sign the respective messages. And then our algorithms in the background just handle everything. Your old Oni tokens are withdrawn from the farm, are then bridged over to the Oni graph, and that they're automatically be put into the new staking pools again. So we are definitely planning on making the entire process as convenient as possible for all of your users. You basically just have to click one button and are then automatically guided through the entire migration process. All right, I hope that answered the questions. And I think with that being said, we are through with the questions that reached us beforehand, before the update, and are now definitely happy to take all of the live questions you have. Feel free to just raise your hand or just drop your question in the chat, and we are going to answer them hopefully as good as we can.
Yeah, there was already a first one from Big G. Bonus question if you have time. What do you love most about your jobs? I think I'll start and I'll give Kai and Lukas the possibility to add. I think what we love is, on one hand, the freedom, on the other hand, the possibility to really change something and not to be bound to another employer, another company that has its agenda, but being able to really see where the problems lie, where the opportunities are, and to be able to enter into a technology that has yet to find mass adoption and that maybe through the channel of Onino will find mass adoption. And to be able to, in this niche with those great people, this great community in the back, being able to build something that we call Onino and that will hopefully have a very, very big impact in the future. And being part of that right from the start, alongside Kai, Lukas, the rest of the team, and the extended team, which is the community, makes me really happy and really drives us and drives me every day to work. And I don't know if Kai and Lukas have anything to add to that.
Yeah, that was a beautiful formulation, Alex. I can only follow up to that. Yeah, for me, it's basically the same that you said, that I can just build. So I just get up in the morning, get to my laptop, and be the blockchain or the dashboard or anything else. I could just directly build without having the hurdles of a larger company, where you basically have to plan out everything so carefully and have to, so to say, talk about every line of code that you write with all of your 20 colleagues. And I think this is definitely the greatest advantage of a startup, that you can just be agile and flexible and just start building things without having any, I would say, organizational hurdles that are put in your way. I think that is the most beautiful thing for me.
Well, I'll just make the third opinion, or voice the third opinion. I think all three of us are visionaries, and all three of us have seen a great technology that is yet to be used to its full potential. And that's what makes what we are doing so great. We've seen something and are fully convinced by the technology, and we have put ourselves in a position with Onino to be part of seeing that technology develop over the future. And that's why we are working day and night to make our vision of Onino come true and make the vision of a more decentralized, more fair, and more just general, secure world a reality. And that's the best thing I like about our jobs.
Nice.
Beautiful answers.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
This one from Bank BA. How many Oni do you need to be a validator? What is the emission inflation staking rate for the validator? And if you have a fixed supply, where is the emissions coming from? I think this one is perfect for Lukas.
Yes, we've seen this question quite often already. And I believe we can publicly share now that we will be exactly for these questions or these type of questions that come up, that we'll be releasing a more separate paper towards the token and economic model behind the Oni token, which will answer all these questions. I can only give you vague answers right now because we are still in the background doing some calculations, especially for the long-term developments of the token, which covers the emissions and staking rate for validators, but I'll try to answer them as vaguely as possible with the information I can give you right now before we release the paper itself. So how many ONI do you need to be a validator? This will be an amount that will be tied to the real monetary value behind dollars at the start, and later then be shifted to a total amount of ONI once the network is more established, as the stake has to be significant enough to prevent bad actors to be bad actors, essentially. So at the start, you can roughly look towards a number of 150 to 200,000 ONI tokens for being part of the early validator circle, and that number will then decrease going forward in the future. What the emission, inflation, and staking rate for validators is like, this is the one part that you will have to wait for our token paper, which will be released prior to the testnet. And the last part of the question, if you have a fixed supply, where's the emission coming from? The main long-term dynamics will be tailored towards that the emission will be all coming from the traffic that is happening on the network and all the revenue generated by people using not only the ONI graph, but the whole Onino ecosystem. But at the start, this will be tied towards the emissions that we have our allocation in our tokenomics that are strictly for staking and validator rewards. And I hope that answers this most clearly. And I believe you will be looking forward to the paper we will be releasing on the ONI tokenomics and economic advancements.
I think so too.
So then there's a lot of chatter regarding Niels being ChatGPT. I can neither deny nor not deny that.
I had that suspicion as well before. Niels is actually ChatGPT.
But Tom has a question. In the roadmap, it says intense marketing this year is still going ahead. Sorry if this was answered. I missed the start. Was it answered yet? Yes, definitely. As we always said, once the product is ready, there will be marketing. And if the product is ready, there will be marketing. And as the product will be ready, there will be marketing. So yes.
A quite confusing answer for a simple question.
Yeah, next time I just say yes and jump to the next one. I just wanted to buy time. I saw Niels was typing.
You mean ChatGPT?
Yes, but Niels actually has a question as I see it here.
Yeah.
What are you generating income revenue on today? Only the tokenizing of assets or other sources as well? So currently we have many projects going on, some that we can speak about, some that we cannot speak about. The main source of income is currently the tokenization help we are doing for startups, but also established companies.
Yes, and the next question, somebody discovered there's an airdrop running now, apparently. I myself have also been just added to that group, so big warning, there won't be any airdrops from us now, and anything will only be announced in this group here. So please don't join any airdrop groups, don't join any free only groups or anything else suspicious. The only source of truth that we have is this group right here. And if you see any other Onino group than that, or the Onino announcement channels, the official one is linked in this group, please report them as spam to Telegram, and also try to warn people, because there's still a lot of people impersonating us, and especially with the Only token price rising currently, a lot of scammers are jumping on the train again and trying to, so to say, do some copycat groups and try to fish people.
Okay, there is another question from Tom. Any news on the grant from the government regarding tech? So I believe this was for, or is targeting what we've teased already earlier this year, that we've applied for a grant, which is for the development of a solution for supply chain. As it is with German governments, it takes quite a long time only to review applications, and we are yet to hear for a final decision. but we will keep you updated once the decision is there.
Okay, let's just see if we have any more questions. There was Tom's, Gen Z. Oh yeah, another one. Can we expect more between Onino and Liquidus? Yeah, so right now for the near future, we haven't planned on any collaborations, but we also might not exclude it for the future, especially, for example, when the OnlyGraph has launched. Then, for example, maybe the staking pools, the native staking pools could be integrated into the Liquidus app. But for now, we don't have any further partnerships that we could announce here.
There is a question. Don't keep your legs on different boats. By supporting focusing on Cadaico, will it affect the Onino ecosystem? I know this is part of our ecosystem. How are you keeping your ecosystem safer? That's actually a great question. It actually affects our ecosystem in the way that we learn a lot by working with such companies as Cadaico and other companies, because we learn directly from the people that are using our, you could say, public infrastructure, and then we are able to see what we can even make better in this infrastructure. It sure is a lot of work for the team itself, which is why we are expanding the team. But the lessons we learn from this, basically the necessities we have to build into our infrastructure that we learn from that are of such high value that we are gladly working with these companies. And then the last part, I just reread it again. How are you keeping our ecosystem safer? I just interpreted that way. How we keep the whole Onino ecosystem safer is that we have really high standards for the intake of projects, partners, and customers, essentially. As like there is a lot of demand for the services we offer, and we actually can't intake everyone, which is why we basically have our internal assessment for each and every partner that we're onboarding to see that we are not working with bad actors, and we try to keep this standard as high as possible, as long as we can do it until we release the network to the public so that everyone can build on it. But for now, our internal assessment is the main measure to keep everything safe in the whole Onino ecosystem.
Max has a very long question. I'm going to read it and let's see who's going to answer it. I don't intend to sound pessimistic, but I find myself curious about something. The objectives you've set are undoubtedly ambitious and have the potential for significant impact on the industry. However, I can't help but observe that there doesn't appear to be anyone on the team with senior level software development expertise. We've seen numerous instances where project boasted teams comprise of highly skilled and experienced developers, yet struggle to achieve the very goals you're aiming for. Could this absence of extensive experience potentially pose challenges, or might it be less concerning than it appears? I'm interested to hear your perspective on this matter. I mean, you could say David versus Goliath. Maybe you were just David. But definitely seniority isn't everything. If you have a look at big projects, for example, the ones you're referencing, many of them have seemed to just throw money at problems. And if you do this without a substantial base and a infrastructure that works, often it just doesn't work. So having more money, having big teams, a lot of seniority, if you don't have the underlying functioning framework, then this can just be a bad sign, which is why many of those haven't worked, which is also why we try to keep our team lean. And I think success can speak for itself. It's only internal at the moment, but we see what technology we're working with. And although we may not have the most experienced developers, what we've built so far is a great extent and is very, I would say, positive, showing us that what we're planning is achievable with the team that we have. Still, seniority is a very good part. We are looking for a blockchain developer and blockchain architect, someone that has built something like that and that can support us even more than the experience that Lukas, Kai, Erdal have and a couple of advisors that help us. So seniority is something, but it's not just the solution of throwing money at a problem, throwing a big team with a lot of seniority at a problem. It's often also how you approach things. That would be my answer, but I think Lukas and Kai are the developer experts here. So maybe you have another view on this topic.
Yeah, you've covered quite a lot. That being said, yes, we do not have the biggest seniority in contrast to someone who's been working in development industries for 20 years plus, which is also why at the start, right at the start of Onino, we've basically talked and held a lot of workshops with people that basically hold exactly this seniority and came up with the concept from there. And we do see us being a little bit juvenile as a big plus, actually, because like we kind of take the non-conventional ways that others might be stuck in the more conventional way of thinking and developing, and especially bringing the product to the market, which is, for example, why we just out of the blue started our service as tokenization and already seeing so much demand. And many others may have been waiting for the full infrastructure to be released and then start their business development efforts, while we just go out there and basically convince with our youth, and which something that lacks by experience is something we make up with hard work. And I believe all the development we put into the OniGraph by now kind of can be put into multiple years, crammed into 2 to 3 years already. So we are convinced that what we set out to achieve will be achieved. But on the paper, I do agree that might seem daunting if you compare our seniority to the seniority of other projects.
Perfectly summarized, Lukas. Thank you. Okay. Just seeing if there will be any more questions. I think half of the community switched over to the Cadaico Telegram, as I see. We should have announced it in the end, maybe.
Remember where you came from, guys.
But great to see a lot of you guys over there. Pedram is a great guy. I'm sure you guys will love him when you meet him personally.
Yeah, they're doing an amazing job.
Update.
That's another part of what we love about our jobs, I think. Working with people like Pedram and many more that just love what they're doing, are great at what they're doing, sometimes have much more seniority than we have. Pedram, for example, has a lot of experience, has led huge teams we can even dream of at the moment. And being able to be in a position where we work with him, where he benefits from our experience, is something that's really great. Sitting on a table and people with different backgrounds, different experience levels, helping each other, working towards a goal of changing something, doing great things. That's amazing.
Definitely. Perfectly said. Yeah, we thought you were loyal, see?
All right, I believe this...
Yes, the consensus white paper is still out this year, Lukas.
That's a good question. We will be releasing the, let's say, the more less detailed documentation in our Git book still this year. The consensus fully fledged white paper, which also basically shows all the benchmarks we've done for the POAC and the whole technical blueprint to what we're building, is something we've strategically pushed a little back towards the release of the mainnet, because we don't want to give away our architecture, how we're building it, in a really precise detail too early, because that's fully part of our consensus engine and also the consensus as a service, which we'll be doing. And that is just a strategic decision. But the Git book documentation we will release will be covering, you could say, 50% of the theoretical concepts behind the POAC consensus, and that will be released alongside the testnet phase. Thomas doesn't want to let us go. Another question. Question: are you on track with what your investors expect of you? I can't look into their heads, or none of us can. But right now, every talk we have with them is always positive, and they are always driving us forward and basically bringing up new ideas how we can get into the market, how we can set out and achieve the things we do, and just give us their experience. So I believe we are well on track with what they expect. Maybe we are even ahead of it, but that speculation. But so far, we have not heard any negative criticism, but everything is constructive, and all the experience we gain from them is, it's just such a big help for us, especially as we are a young team. It's great to profit from a experience that is sometimes even more than what we've been on Earth already. So we are very, very lucky to have them on board. All right. I believe that officially marks the end of this month's community update. We are really grateful for everyone that joined. We've seen a lot of new people joining the chat and the Telegram and our socials in general lately. A shout out to everyone who has supported us during the whole journey so far. Keep up the good work. We've seen a lot of activity on Twitter. We love seeing the people post about Onino and getting the word out there. We are looking forward to see many of you in next Monday's update, which is hosted on our Telegram, but will present Cadaico and Pedram, the founder of Cadaico. And other than that, keep up the positivity. We love all your support, and we're looking forward to all the releases we will be having towards the end of the year. And on the last note, something that Kai might want to push is feel free to go to app.onino.io, because the dashboard is having an update today, and that will make your life much, much more easier when navigating crypto and keeping just track of all your assets you have distributed on all different ledgers.
Yes, thanks again for the reminder, Lukas. We'll inform you as soon as the new update is launched. We'll just post in our blog post to the community as always, so you guys will be the first to hear. So stay tuned. And thank you all for joining also from my side. I'm very happy to see our community so active and that you are so present in the chat, asking so many interesting questions and joining in such large numbers into the update. We are very happy about that. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.